last time, and instead I overused it. So that was it.
Let the go.
Privilege is revoked. You hammered. Get out. Right. I have forgotten my glasses, reading glasses. So, thank you, everyone. We shall kick off. It is 7:30. Are we live? I think good to go. Right, excellent. Apologies for absence. You have any apologies?
Yes, I've had apologies this evening from councillors, Mrs. Bettison, Forster, Dr. Forster, Mrs. Mossam and Widdowson.
Perfect. Does anyone else know of any apologies at all? Nope. Superb. Does anyone have any members' interests to declare? Nope. Excellent. We're cooking on gas. Minutes of the last Leisure Committee meeting, to receive and confirm the minutes of the proceedings of Leisure Committee meeting held on the 15th of May 2025 as a duly correct record. I'd like to propose that they are confirmed as a true record. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to start.
Seconded. Could we please vote? All in favour? Any against? No. No. Abstaining? No. Oh, one abstaining. Okay. All right, those are passed. Right. On to agenda item number 4, large events. To receive an update on the Summer of Fun event.
So as we've been saying, Summer of Fun is all planned and pretty much ready to go now. It'll be on the 8th of August. There have been some communications released today by Bratton Forest Council, which is all about summer holiday events, and they have included them on there. There is a little bit of a issue going on at the moment because they have alluded to the fact that they are their events, which they have soon been put right by the parish and towns, and they will be correcting. But I think the main thing in all of that is that they are advertised, and the word is getting out there for it. We've also been advertising, the banners are up, the posters are up, and there's been some Facebook posts as well. So everything is good to go. I would just again like to ask for volunteers. So if anyone can give some time on the day, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. Anyone's got any questions around Summer of Fun at all? It is down as a decision item in case we needed to consider anything, but I think everything is pretty much there or thereabouts.
Me and Les will help. Well, we
Thank you.
do you want us to do the car park?
That'd be fabulous. Thanks, Hazel.
Marvellous. Move on to item B, to offer an opportunity for councillors to join the fireworks working group. Councillor Dale Birch, Councillor Nicky Coppins, and Councillor Michael Butcher. I don't know how many. Oh, sorry, and Councillor De Sousa as well. Don't know how many we normally have on the working groups. Is it normally 3?
2, 4.
Last year it was 4 or 5.
Yeah, between 4 and 5.
I don't think there's any reason why we can't have anyone who wants to be on.
Although it does get silly because otherwise we'd just discuss it in leisure. So yeah, we don't need. So can we just recap on that then?
So Councillor D Birch,
Yeah.
Councillor De Sousa, Councillor Coppins, and Councillor Butcher. I think that's right. Those 4.
Okay, and I will be coming out with a date for the first meeting very soon.
Marvellous. That was nice and easy. To consider holding a music festival in the Memorial Park in 2026. Do you want to?
Do you mean 2026?
2026.
I don't know what to do.
What did I say?
2020.
I said 2026, but my brain's scrambled, so that's fine.
So most of you will be aware that we've had a music festival here in the past, and when the motion to agree that went through, the idea was that every other year we would have a big event. So the pattern would be that we'd have the Freedom March, then nothing, then the music festival, then nothing. That was put out of kilter with COVID and then with the Freedom March having to be moved due to circumstances by the RMA. So we're a little bit out of the pattern, but obviously last year we had Freedom and this year is our clear year. So to get back in line, if we want to continue with that, next year would be the year that we would be looking at the music festival. Now, we have been putting the money away for the years that it all just slightly went awry. So we have got 52,000 in reserve. When we set the budget this year, you may remember that we took that line out because we knew we wouldn't be having it this year. However, if we do go ahead next year, that budget line will more than likely be put back in. So there'll be sufficient funds to have the event should this committee decide that they want to continue with that.
Councillor Birch.
Very supportive of this. But did we, in the past, here we go again, form a working group to assist in its organisation? Is it?
We
Have
didn't.
we got it all set
Yes,
up
yeah.
now?
Yeah.
It's a bit like it just going through the usual. So we don't need a working group.
Whatever you decide, you can have a working group.
Only if
Question
necessary.
it up.
It's mine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, if we have a working group, it'll be a minimal, it'll probably 1 to 2 meetings because the format is there. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, questions?
Just when is it normally held? What month?
But we've only held it once and it was in June or July, but what I would do is look at what is actually going on already. So we don't want to clash with local events like Gig on the Green, Ascot Week, etc. Because we want to have most people here. And I go to Gig on the Green, I won't be able to be at both.
Yeah, that's
But yes, well, I always look to see what's on around and try and obviously avoid that weekend so that residents have the opportunity to do as much as they can do for free.
okay. I'm happy to propose that. It's like, it's such a popular event in Sandhurst residents.
Okay. Anyone else got any comments, questions? Do you want to know how much it cost? What, before, previously when we ran it, rather than we've got 52,000?
Yes, because I heard the 52,000.
Yeah. That I've no idea off the top of my head last time because it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Do you reckon we should know the price before we vote on it?
we know how much
We know how much we got, so we just tailor it to how much we've got, surely.
Yes,
Surely we
because
can
with
just-
the costs are, some of the costs are,
I'm pretty sure it wasn't as much, anywhere near as much as 52,000 last time. Because I think that's the sort of money we spend on Freedom March. So it's a much smaller event. So I would suggest that, there's plenty of money in the kitty. I don't think we need to set it work. We would set the budget in the budget setting process for next year. So this now is the time to go out, cost it, and then when it comes to the budget, we can then put money in the budget to cover it.
we actually won't have time to do that because we can't start booking acts in February for summer. We need to start doing it in the next few months. But we have got the reserve already.
Right.
So if there's a shortfall, we could certainly look at that, but
Okay.
we would need to start earlier than that.
I guess the theory is, to answer kind of your concerns, is we know what our budget is, so we would run the event to that budget. Okay, so we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. Any other questions or are we good to vote? Right, okay, all in favour? Any against? Any abstaining? No, it's passed. Just checking. Right. Marvellous. Leisure enhancements in the Memorial Park. Please don't laugh again at my pronunciation. I haven't got my reading glasses. To receive an update from the working group.
So if I just kick off, we haven't had a meeting since, but if I can just pass 2 separate pieces over to the separate councillors. So if I can pass over to Nikki to give an update on volunteer day yesterday as part of the working group, and then following that, John, who can give an update on the chats that we've had about the playground.
Yeah, so volunteer day yesterday. We was lucky to have a couple of people come from NatWest and spent the entire day with us working. And, you know, there was,
They enjoy themselves.
they did, and it was
It's
really
enjoyable.
good. And, you know, nice number of councillors attended and, you know, a few residents. The residents' comments were that they would be, you would get more attendance from them if it was held on a weekend, but then the catch-22 with that. Yeah, but, you know, we got a lot done. It was a nice, yeah, I totally got something. I forgot to put my cream on my face. But it was a nice, you know, friendly community event, and I think we agreed to do it yearly. And then Ange came up with a suggestion that Owlsmore next year maybe.
Yeah.
Or it could even be that you do 2 a year, where one at like different ends of the year, something, one at Owlsmore and one at Sandhurst. But yeah, really good.
Brilliant.
It was very surprising, any of you that used the play area a lot, the difference that it's made by just reglossing everything. It's really noticeable. So it's a great,
And I mean, as Darcy said, we're clearing the sand
yeah.
from the park. She was like, "Oh my God, the park looks so much bigger."
Mm.
It just was lovely.
Is your back recovered now?
Yeah, my back's a bit experts and shoveler.
Excellent, Nick.
Yeah, I spoke to Ange after the event, and she mentioned that the NatWest people turned up, but I thought actually maybe in future years we could, lots of companies do volunteer days, and maybe we could approach some companies and get a bigger band of volunteers turning up that way.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Waitrose do that. I think the co-op and a few others. I mean, I use my volunteer day from work to take the day off and do. So yeah, very popular.
Need to provide like in space, though, castles.
That's just you playing, not working.
Okay, marvellous. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Wasn't
Okay.
that one of the quotes that when, because the children couldn't come in, and the quote was, "Well, why are those grown-ups allowed to be?"
I said
There were
to
a few
Bunga,
pouty bottom lips yesterday from children when they saw they.
Are you just talking about it? No, you can't ride the roundabout. Anyway, John.
Since our decision to remove the swing, we have got 2 suppliers in who are drawing up some plans, but it's still much the same. They're going to do a feature on top of the hill, a new swing, which is an inclusive swing, a flatbed swing, some trampolines, and a salt course. I think we're just waiting for their designs to come back, aren't we?
Yeah.
And after that, we'll have the meeting again and decide what we want to do, or bring it back into committee.
actually, John, that's funny because you said the slide. So I know one of the meetings, it was that you thought that, or someone had said that the slide wasn't working very well. And it was just ironic because the other day we was walking the dog back through that way, and these kids were whizzing down the slide and it wasn't sticking. So I was, I didn't go up and investigate myself. But
Normally it's stuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just really weird because
You've been rubbing
Paint off.
And I know that Nick did say he was going to polish it up, so
well, maybe
doing something
maybe
with it. I don't know.
that's something.
But the feature on top of the hill is like
Yes.
tower. They're designing it. It'll be like a feature piece. There'll be like towers, new slides, salt course on top of the hill.
Sounds great. Marvellous. Any questions, anyone?
And just to finish on that piece, the outdoor gym is currently being installed as we speak. So hopefully all being well and going to plan, that takes around 2 weeks, and they started it Tuesday, so it's going well so far.
Perfect. No other questions? Excellent. Okay, agenda item number 6. We've, I believe, had a quote back for the lighting, the basketball and tennis courts. I think we had a request from the public about this. And if we could discuss it now, whether or not we decide to do it. I have a couple of points, but do you want to talk about that? How much was the quote again? £50,000, wasn't it? Plus that. I mean, I'll start and then hand around. I have a couple of concerns with this. I think it's quite a lot of money, number one. I also think it's that, you know, who is going to monitor the lighting down there? It feels like something that would need to be monitored at night. And I also worry about possibly people coming and gathering there late at night that maybe we don't want to encourage to come and gather there at night. So, you know, from my point of view, I'm not convinced. Sorry.
Thank you. No, I was just going to ask a couple of questions. One is, how many lights does the quote cover? Because I don't think it says that. Then it talks about, you know, 3-phase main intake positions, 3-phase distribution board, new trenches and hedge being cut. 6. Where am I missing?
Okay.
I've got my glasses on, Hazel. So.
6 men keeping holes.
Yeah. It's a lot of money for.
Oh, okay. 0.3. Okay, for cabinet wire out to 6 hymns, 8 metre columns. Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, I've got my glasses and I have been to Specsavers and I'm just waiting for some new ones. So
That's where you can run it.
So, how do we go out and get a quote? Do we, given it's over a certain value, we have to go out competitively, don't we?
No, we don't have to. Not yes, when it reaches over hundreds of thousands.
Oh, I thought it was 20,000.
No. You have to advertise on Contract Finder who you've given a contract to, but you can select the providers. And it's actually 30,000 that you then put on Contract Finder. But you don't have to go out to the open market, you can select. But this is one quote from our electric providers, which was what this committee asked us to do to see if it's a viable option. If we do go ahead, obviously, because of the amount, we will get 3 quotes in if it's something that we want to then go ahead with.
50k almost sounds like a, if you excuse the parlance, an FU quotes.
Well, we've got to remember that we have no electricity supply out in that field as well, so it's going to be a lot of money. And these are the guys that work for us all the time. So, you know.
But would there be some reuse with that install if we needed other electrical items in that area of the park, perhaps? Or
It could be.
another question to ask, maybe for the quote, you know.
Maybe I've come to this as my first meeting, but has a study been undertaken in terms of its utilisation, given that the lighting will go in? Because once it's in, okay, it could be used, but if it isn't going to be used, then we've wasted a lot of money. And I, for one, would prefer to see a utilisation study carried out on whoever suggested it to actually justify why we should actually spend that money. It's a nice to do thing, but I'm questioning whether it's an essential thing to do.
So up on my estate in Gennett's Park, we've got 2 mugger areas, one of which is floodlit. And in the winter, I would say it gets seldom use on a handful of evenings. That's his use, but that's Gennett's Park, that's not Sandhurst. Yeah.
Remind us, where did the request come in from?
It was a young lad who plays basketball.
Yeah.
Just to consider it. And then obviously Alan piped in and said, well, if we're doing it for the basketball, could we consider it for the tennis as well?
Crowthorne have actually put lights in for their basketball area, but in the times I drive past there, I don't see it utilised in the evenings.
But it could be that the tennis would be used a lot more than the basketball because.
Might I speak?
Yeah, of course.
I think the tennis club would use it because at the moment we don't play in the evenings in the winter at all. We stop when the summertime finishes. And so we would carry on with our sessions right through the winter, that's for sure. As to whether other people would use it, well, who knows? However, what I would say is that I would expect that the people that use it pay for it.
Yes.
Yeah, there must be some mechanism so that you put a credit card or something in a slot, tokens you have to buy. There has to be a way. We can't expect someone from the council to turn it on every time someone wants to use it. So there has to be a system of monitoring that. And also, I would also ask, is there any way that you get a contribution from other parties like the Lawn Tennis Association or something like that to help toward the cost of this item.
Michael.
Sorry.
Michael.
Question, it makes reference to a 3-phase electricity supply. Will that be on a metered basis so that whoever is using it will actually be charged accordingly, as opposed to it being funded, the electricity consumption being funded by the council?
That was kind of
That-
just,
Yeah.
yes. That's
I just said, we would expect to pay
For electricity used?
for the electricity used, so you would have some sort of metering mechanism where you put a, I won't say coin in the slot, because it will be more sophisticated than that, but a mechanism so that we can be charged, and anyone else that wants to book it will have to turn up and put their credit card against this device so that it illuminates the court for a certain period of time.
But there'll still be the need for someone to read the meter for every so often. There has to be some sort of control, I think.
No, it would be a sort of pay as you go.
pay as you play.
The downside of that, of course, is that the basketball courts are not closed and are continually open. So who's going to pay for that?
So were they, oh, Simon?
Just an observation from the cricket club's perspective is that the basketball courts get used a lot, and generally by people playing basketball, not hanging around. So I think there is a demand of young people out there. But yeah, it's a bit like snooker table, isn't it? You put a pound in the light, it lights up, and that model seems sensible. And you probably be able to organise it with a cut off so that when it hits 10 o'clock, it stops working, so that you don't have that kind of people playing basketball till 3 a.m. or people gathering too much later.
I think that was if it's just on continuously. I think that's what I meant.
Yes, it could be on a timer and be turned off. But the thing is that from Alan's point, if it's paid as you go, who's paying in the basketball court? Because it's just open. It's not locked and it's not
I
booked.
guess if
It's an
it
open
pays, it's
system,
paid
isn't
the
it?
right one along, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just want to support Alan, for sure, but with the other guys that using the basketball, it's not commercial entity, it's local children, teenagers that are using it. As much as I want to support you, Alan, I think that differentiation we can make. So if we are supporting and providing lights up until a certain period in the evening, it'll switch off at a certain point. Whereas with the club, depending upon their usage, I think we could apply different rules.
What about residents booking the tennis court that aren't playing for the club?
Would they not have a card system for payment?
Yeah, but if you, so you'd expect them to pay.
They pay already though, don't they? They pay already for the tennis.
They pay for the court, but they don't pay for the court to be lit.
I'm sure at that point, the fee could be revised to take into account.
Incorporated into your fee.
Yeah,
Yeah, winter bookings are, which includes lighting.
I can't see someone from council having to turn this on and off. You've got to have a system whereby the person
Yeah.
you've got to
There
have,
won't be anyone here to do
No,
that, so yeah, it definitely needs to be a.
puts that in. And sorry, just one final point. If you carry on using it till 10 o'clock, it is sometimes pretty dark at 10 o'clock. And it'd be good to have a few street lights to illuminate the way from the courts to the car park all the way out, because otherwise it is very dark.
that's also a good point.
Con lights.
We need something, all those, even those solar powered lights that just light the way. Okay,
Is it possible to,
Sorry. it was waiting.
sorry, I put my hand up and Angela looked at me, sorry.
Sorry,
Great.
councillor Birch, you had a question?
Yes, please. We've spoken about the lights go off at a certain time. I'm going to be a bit boring here, and with my planning hat on, the designation of the area is countryside, and to erect lights around the courts, basketball and tennis, and then if we go to lighting the routes to and from, etc., the impact might be considered in planning terms to need planning permission. And as I say, being countryside, one of the things that we have to apply are the light pollution rules, so that the wildlife, your bats and birds and so on and so forth, are not adversely affected by the light. And then you get the issue of is it diffusion into the atmosphere, etc. So the additional cost of making sure the lighting is sustainable may give us an issue. I'm also mindful of the comment the chairman made there about the misuse of the space. If they're not there playing basketball, and I know it gets used a fair bit for basketball, but if they're not, what other use could they be using it for? And then I think what we need to understand and perhaps try and learn from others that may do this, how we control it, how we charge for it, how or if we charge for it. I think at this point in time, I still have too many questions. But my thoughts are that it is an asset that could be better used if it was made available for those hours that are dark in the winter. And so I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is, can we understand a lot more about the implications of it, so that when we do have to apply for it, the evidence that we have, perhaps from other sites, can be very supportive.
Councillor Quick.
Thank you. You ready for this? I agree with you.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what I was going to propose, was that we're not committing to spending 50,000 tonight, but what we propose is that we actually look into it more to say that if there was going to be an electricity provision and we wanted something that was a pay as you go, for want of a better phrase, so that we have we understand the potential planning ramifications, so we have a more detailed answers on which to make a decision. That was going to be my proposal.
I'd like,
Is that, are you making that proposal?
I'm making that proposal.
So,
Would you like a second?
I'll second. There's still some questions.
Still some questions. Okay. But doesn't-
Really, this is a follow-on supporting Mike's proposal and Lee's. I've run a tennis club as a treasurer for Camberley, and the transformation of the club from a club without lighting to a club with lighting is quite significant. The membership goes up, the usage goes up. The problem about planning is essential. The project has got to be looked at properly as a project. There are a lot of implications. I think the metering is probably the least of the problems, because we're almost automatically going to have a smart meter put in.
I think it's more about how we
It's the
have the pay as you go element of the metering.
I think we do need the research on what the likely outcomes are going to be, the usage, etc., especially from the point of view of the basketball side, where people don't know, because you don't know until you've done it. So there may be some other clubs that have done it. You could ask the Camberley Tennis Club what their reaction was, but they probably won't remember because it was such a long time ago. I'm just supporting this proposal to investigate properly.
I think as part of the costing, it'd be interesting to go back to the young lad and play. Well, if it was 10 quid an hour for the lights, would you still come? Because I think we need to find out how much it would cost per hour or per half hour to actually run the lights. Because if a young kid, if you tell him it's a tenner, he'll probably say no. He'll want it free of charge for a start. And if we say you can't have it free of charge, it's how much is it and whether they can afford it. And I think we need to at least have some cost of, and some knowledge of running costs as well as the installation cost.
I think you'd be quite surprised. I think when you see kids arranging different events and stuff like that, I've seen it with my own kids, you know, there'll be something little 10 quid, so there's 10 of us, £1 each, whatever. I think you would be surprised how many actually would take that up.
I think if they're paying for it, it would discourage the sort of misuse.
The misuse,
as well.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Right, sorry, I'm gonna go Mike and then Simon.
I think there are two phases. One is the feasibility and the other is the utilisation. And listening to colleagues around the table, they are all precise things that people need to find answers to their questions. And those, to me, come out as part of the first stage, which is feasibility. In other words, what is it going to cost us? Not only will you utilise, well, not when you put it in, but also still the running with. And there are two phases.
Just a quick one. This kind of was the last couple.
No, tennis.
Oh, it does tennis.
Yeah. Like the purpose of this today, obviously you weren't in leisure before, Mike, is just to get a talking point. Like, are we going to carry on? One other thing I would just remind you all of is there is no budget for this in this year. So if we can do feasibility, etc., and look at what we're looking at, but unless strategy and policy chair has a pot of money up his sleeve that I'm not aware of, it's more than likely to be a project that will be sort of good to go and be considered in the budget setting for next year.
But also, as Alan said, about approaching the Lawn Tennis Association or
Yeah, certainly
anybody else.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think the proposal, which has been proposed and seconded, is to go and look at this. So I think from that, and I hope people will support it, there is a commitment to have in place, if we're going with this, some sort of plan for the budget cycle. Okay, so I'm keen with that. One of the things that I do want to draw attention to is if that additional lighting does give our younger people something else to do in the evening for a bit longer, then I'm pretty certain there are a lot of residents that will be very supportive of that, because you do hear people saying there's nothing for them to do in the evening. And so our commitment to our young people should carry some weight as we move forward. So totally supporting the proposition that we look at this in detail so that all interested parties can benefit from it, from the knowledge we acquire.
So I've emailed you LTA guidance. 50% increase in members generally seen when you have floodlit courts. It costs £1 an hour to run a tennis court, so I assume that would be the same for a basketball court. And it gives costs and all of the technical information, and it proposes that ballpark figures, 4 courts, a block of 3 courts would cost in the region of £42,000 plus. That is sort of the LTA's guidance figure. So I sent it to you, and obviously you share it.
So it's not.
That's a bit of a, because they're the experts. Like we would go to the ECB guys for cricket tech. The LTA will have lots of support and guidance available.
I think having tennis particularly involved, I'm less worried about the utilisation side of things. So I think it would get used if you've got the lights, but certainly still could be like.
Just one last point. I agree that planning, obviously you need to get approval and it's difficult with all the things that happen around. However, the current lights are very focused on where they are lighting, and it doesn't sort of transfuse around the whole area. So I would hope that the local residents wouldn't see a great blob of light everywhere. It would be very focused on where we want the lighting to be.
So another question, are you happy with your proposal sort of as stands? I mean, do we want to, my only thing is what sorts of details do we want?
Clear enough proposal.
Clear enough, happy? Right, okay, all in favour? Any against, any abstaining? Right. The
Can I
next,
just let you know, that item 7 has been withdrawn by the resident asking for permission.
okay, item 7 is dealt with. Okay, item number 8, parking provision on the Memorial Park. Okay. So this is an item that I put on the agenda. Everyone should hopefully have one of these. But has either been put on the desk. So I think, I don't know how many years ago it was when I first joined the council, but the big problem was with parking always. And I don't think that's really kind of ever not been on the forefront of people's minds. We had some money and we talked about doing Pies Acre. We also talked about this area which you've got in front of you, which is over, by Pistachios and down to the Scout Hut. Sorry, the cafe on the park. Sorry, Carl.
If you just saw it, we
That's all.
No.
Sorry. So what I did, I have spoken to Ange about this, but what I would like to do is throw the kind of, and I probably a can of worms, but I don't care. Throw the whole parking at the park open for discussion between all of us. And so what I've put here, this is literally obviously from Google Earth. The yellow bits are areas that could potentially be either are, but they are used, some of them, but could potentially be used or turned into proper car park. The red line is where potentially you would move the wall down, and orange is where you would move the gate. I've put the purple line across there because obviously the tug of war is down in that corner, and this is an idea. What I'd quite like is for us all to talk about this. And there's a few things that I'd like us sort of to consider. The number one is there actually a regular parking problem? Or is it, for example, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings? The other thing I want to think about is, are we just moving the problem around the park? If we say, for instance, develop this area, would then Pies Acre just become empty and everyone would circle round there, and then when they couldn't park there, go there? The other thing that I would obviously, so what I'm kind of saying is it worth us getting a feasibility to turning this area into a proper parking area? So yeah, throwing it open to everyone for ideas. Again, I know it's probably not standard practice, but people, non-councillors, well, I'd honestly welcome any input, because I think that honestly, as long as I've been part of this council, or in fact in Sandhurst, there has been issues with parking. Nick.
Okay.
Just looking at some of your areas, I'm guessing you'd have to fence them off somehow, because otherwise they'll be donutting around the fields.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've drawn the red line down there. See, if you move that open and closed gate down to the bottom of right down to the bottom of the path, and then you put a wall or some kind of fence or something down there, then they can't get onto the park.
I don't actually see the
Events that,
Yeah, they will go over the bank. We see it regularly.
Yeah,
Over what?
Bank and Pies Acre.
balance.
The bums.
They- all right, well,
Side.
The,
Yeah.
the over, what do you mean?
The lump.
Right next to the road.
Yeah, I'm talking about putting something along there, obviously, so they can't drive over. It's making that.
Should you get these things in for fireworks?
Yeah.
How would you what?
How would you get all the vehicles in for fireworks if you put a wall down there?
Well, they'd have to go in through the fence.
Well, same way they do now, because
Yeah.
they go across.
They don't, yeah, they don't smash through the walls, they go through the gates, don't they? But look, sorry, I'm not asking you to pick these specific, this is just let's talk about it rather than picking all I'm saying, what do we think? Lee?
Firstly, I can understand why you want to look and address a problem, as you said, has been ongoing and is a thorny issue for all of the residents around the park who are affected. And we've heard from them quite vocally at various meetings that we've had. It remains, though, that the park is a memorial park for all residents to use. And I think you raise a pertinent question, which is how often is the problem? Is it ad hoc? Is it once a fortnight? Is it whatever? So are we potentially using the sledgehammer to crack a nut, looking at proposals? But I go back to the point that this is a memorial park for all of Sandhurst residents. And contentious as it may be, the issues are there because of a football ground that attracts outside clubs and parking in the main. And so what you're potentially then asking is for us to commercially fund enhancements and changes to a park.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, but that's not quite what I meant. This is for all of the residents, not specifically those around. This is for when residents turn up and they physically can't park at the ground. That's kind of what I meant. So sorry, keep going, but I'm not talking about people specifically along. I mean, yes, I have nightmares still about when I was driving along and there were people parked out on the main road because there was nowhere to park. But, but I'm not speaking, I'm talking about all Sandhurst residents.
I understand. But as I say, the park remains a memorial park. And I think the idea of creating more parking within what is currently the park detracts from its very nature and beauty and usage. And installing fences, brick walls, in order to allow more parking detracts from that. So I commend the idea of looking to try and solve a problem which impacts residents. I'm not in favour of developing the park and offering more parking on it, because I think it detracts from it.
Can I just add that one of the points that Graham and I have spoken about, my concern about thinking of moving the electric barrier. We need some sort of protection there. It's been there long before I was in one form or another. It used to be a lockable barrier. If we remove that, it leaves the allotments vulnerable. It leaves the clubhouses vulnerable down there. But also we have locked the main car park. There are still people that congregate in the cafe car park of a night time and get up to whatever they get up to. They will move down to this area, which again, is going to be open, and they may just be parking in the car park, but we've got no control. And I think that the ASB that we see will increase if we don't have that barrier there.
And as well, if you're going to have it like a wall, fence, whatever, it makes it
they're a bit more hidden. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Nick was first. Apologies, Nick was
But I also remember how much pies they could.
Sorry. It was, I don't.
It's been up for ages before these. Thank you. Okay. Can I say, first of all, I fully support the idea of exploring more parking. For instance, the gardening club were here last night. This car park was absolutely jam-packed. We had a real problem with parking. So I fully support the idea of more parking. I'm not convinced this is the right place. I will just say that the area you're showing next to the gardening club trading hut, I need to double check, but I'm pretty sure our lease identifies it as, in effect, I say our land. I know it's not our land, but it's part of our leased land, if that makes sense. But I would double check that if it came to that. I just wonder if we can explore expanding any of the other existing car parks and not.
Again, I'm completely open to other areas.
Yeah.
This is just an idea.
What he says,
And
in terms of not wanting.
I would say that this area was proposed over 10 years ago, so long before anything, any football club or commercial entity. That certainly was not any of my thinking with this. It's completely open to any area. Sorry, Nick, then. Nick,
Yeah,
then
I
Chris.
mean, you talk about additional car parking, but I remember, the hundreds of thousands of pounds that Pies Acre car park cost us. Now, if you're going to put in car parking, you need those hundreds of thousands of pounds. And I don't think we've got the hundreds of thousands of pounds to invest in this sort of stuff. So I put that on the table.
Okay, Chris.
Yes, just looking at the proposals that the football clubs actually made, was that this car parking area was for players, for and families and disabled people. So presumably they were considering it being parking by permit for particular name holders. So it's rather different to having extra parking which the public just use willy-nilly. So on that basis, I mean, I think a lot of the security issues would be dealt with. I mean, in the speeding down the approach road, for instance, you would have named people. You could actually censure them by taking their pass away and things like that. So there's a few things there. I mean, am I right in thinking that they've actually started work on this car park already?
No, that's a different thing.
Yes.
It's a different thing. This is a different suggestion. This is an open discussion into is there a parking problem? Do we need to put things? That's something that's happening somewhere else. Okay, right. Okay. So the cafe, sorry.
This is nothing to do with the land within the football club ownership.
No.
They have their own arrangements into parking. This is just open idea.
Would relieve the parking due to football matches, wouldn't it? Because there would be a number of the people who currently are families, players and the like would be parking there. So the overall parking problem isn't as severe as it currently is on match days. So they've already put a partial solution into that, haven't they?
Well, I think for me, I mean, match days, I've been down on match days and everything. I still think the worst parking is Saturdays and Sunday mornings for me. Whenever I come down, you can almost never get a space anywhere. And I don't necessarily think that's the football club as such, but especially when other things are tournaments and the like. But yeah, sorry, you were talking and then I'll come to you after. But
I think the second point really was that should we be encouraging more car parking on the basis that we're trying to encourage active transport and reducing the amount of traffic in general. So providing more free parking is producing more traffic, which is overall making the problem worse.
Well, Hayley, we definitely want to be encouraging people to walk. The other thing we want to be trying to do is encouraging people to park in Pies Acre. But human nature, unfortunately, is that everyone comes, they drive around that car park there, and they drive round and round and round. Eventually, they go off in half and park in Pies Acre.
They often don't even do that.
Oh, they just dump them.
They just come along,
Yeah.
go to park by the cafe.
So, and again, this is nothing to do with match days. This is just like, as I said, I've seen this on a Saturday and Sunday morning, or like in an evening when there's training on. People are really struggling to, but
They're not struggling, they're just lazy.
yeah, there's plenty. But this is what I mean when I say,
you need the money to have the car.
this is what I'm saying. Is there a parking problem?
Well, I've been past last night and this evening because I went out and came back here at about 7:10 tonight. There's obviously football training on the fields. Last night Pies Acre was half empty, and tonight there was enough spaces for me to notice when I drove past. And this car park was very busy when I tried to get a space again. So it is the human nature of everyone wants to park up here. So there are often spaces at Pies Acre when this car park is full.
Just going back to you.
Sorry, I'm gonna go to sorry, 1 second, because Hazel had a hand up.
We've discussed these two, the larger two areas, but we haven't discussed the small area and by
I like that. That is the area that I actually.
how many spaces that would create, or whether actually moving the recycling bins within, utilising that as well as
So
the bin
yeah,
storage area, whether that would create some extra
just before-
spaces. that I think that might be useful.
So just before I go across back to you, Lee, that is, and I've literally played devil's advocate here because I want us to have this open conversation. I'm not in favour necessarily of certain parts of that, but that one area I actually wouldn't mind us having a look. I have two concerns. One, I don't know if there's any covenant there, which is why we've not previously developed it, because we do have covenants on the park. And in fact, as you said, you know, depending on leaseholds, there's areas that we might not be able to. The other thing is because it gets close to the skate park, what's the legal ramifications of the park? But I don't know. But yes, that little area there is not developed at all. And I think it would be interesting to see if something could be done there. But again, it's down to cost, it's down to moving those bins to a different area, and then there's more parking there. But
We
sorry,
looked at that recently and that
Yeah.
wasn't feasible. They
No,
couldn't be moved. They either have to completely go because the borough weren't interested in relocating them anywhere else. And there's nowhere practically.
yeah, but that could be relocated back to either.
No, because it's a barrier, because when they come to empty them, it's not when staff are on site.
Sorry, what I'm saying is that they could go to the back so that they're literally up against sort of where the very edge of that new little thing would be. Move them back sort of that far.
Yeah.
It depends how many. But again, it's a cost. Sorry, Lee, you had a point.
No, it's only a comment, Graham, in that, yeah, you know, having been down at Pies Acre a couple of years ago, with your dad doing car parking duty for fireworks night, and a couple of, I don't think people don't realise that there's a hard standing path, not the pavement. They don't realise there's a direct route. And I'm not saying slap a bloody flipping great big sign up there, apologies. But, you know, how many people actually do realise that there's a hard standing, you know, two minute walk direct from that car park?
Agreed. Agreed.
To be more if I'm just, but it was what people say, spend what hundreds of thousands on that thing. What options are there? Any options for highlighting it? I know, like you go into town, for example, you see the Lexicon car park, 200 spaces, somewhere else, you know, 200. And I assume that's driven by people who have taken a ticket and that signage there. But could we, you know, say something?
There is a massive sign as you pull into the car park, saying additional parking at Pies Acre.
I know, yeah.
But no, I don't
They understand that.
Yeah.
You know, where's Pies Acre? How can we?
Sorry, Palm, I see you, but I'm going to go to. That's quite an interesting idea. But
You mentioned the covenant.
yes,
I think it's everything to the underneath the red line. So the red line goes down that concrete path.
yeah,
I believe the covenant is everything to the towards Woodbine from there.
okay,
The rest of the field is not covered by the covenant.
okay. So in theory, that little yellow box there shouldn't.
I think that the yellow box is outside the covenant.
Okay.
I think it was that strip that was sold.
Depends how many spaces.
Okay. Sorry, Palm was next. No, Palm was.
I don't mind. I'm just going to pick up on Ben's idea. I thought it was a really good idea. I think what Ben was trying to say was when you go to various car parks and we're saying 200 spaces
Yeah.
still available in that direction. I don't think we have the technology, but I think there would be a great measure of just saying we still have loads of spaces available. Whether that is a
Instead of saying Pies Acre that way, maybe like however many spaces that way. Sign.
And half a mile down the road, so they know it's near.
Yeah,
Quarter of a mile or whatever.
yes.
I think the other thing is it might be nice. I mean, I don't know how you make sort of highlight that Pies Acre might be the main car park rather than the additional parking, because that always, whenever you see a sign that says additional parking, you're like, oh, that's overflowing.
I mean, you almost have to highlight it as you come past it, you know, STC parking, Pies Acre here, Main further on, as you drive past anyway.
Sorry, was that your point, Nikki, or did you?
No. I was going to say just a couple of bits actually with regards to small square near where the recycling is. So one thing is that the plan, obviously, with Bratton Forest is to do glass collection from your homes. So what
They're going. It said they're going.
26.
Yeah.
so that's a
Win.
that's
Yeah.
loses that little bit.
So, sorry, I won't be getting a bin. So I was-
Yes,
Yeah, and I imagine lots of people would. 'cause
Yes.
I don't have space.
there's gonna be, as with everything, you know, some fall, some again, so there's gonna be a need for some form of glass collection, but maybe not
Less.
as much as there, or it'll be just direct to Tesco's or something. And the other thing was just with regards, again, that little square. Every time I come to the park with the dog, I'm here quite a lot. That is always sort of quite a congregated area for teenagers, and they're using the skate ramps, etc. And it's often there because it's like when it's really nice, it's quite a nice shady area. And when I'm seeing the youth workers out talking, that's tends to be where they congregate.
Oh, sorry, no, actually, Mike did have his hand up first. Oh, and John did, sorry. Sorry, yeah, actually, yeah, you go first, sorry, John. Trying to do it in order.
I'm not fussy, don't worry.
No, you go, you had your hand up first.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a great idea, and I think it's been a good chat actually, and I think we should do more like this. I think with the security issues and the antisocial behaviour consideration, I don't think any of the other, and keeping the park as it is, actually, I don't think, in my opinion, any of the other alternatives are viable. The one up by the skateboard ramp is an interesting idea, but I've just gone onto Google Earth and there's 7 parking spaces in Palms, and it's smaller than that. So at most you're going to get about 20 car parking spaces, and you think with the cost, it's probably going to cost over £100,000. So are we going to spend £100,000 ish on 20 car parking spaces? Probably not.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Mike, you.
No, it's all right.
Oh, sorry, you.
No, I'm finished now.
Okay, sorry.
I was going to do my boring bit about planning. The area behind the recycling bins got a lot of trees. It wouldn't, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were protected bins. So the amount of that space that is actually going to be available to, I would need to check on, because our root protection areas are a big thing at the moment. So seeing how much space really would be available and the cost then for being able to provide a further 10, 15, whatever it is, spaces, that's a consideration. That said, though, I think we need to have a look at this because I've been on the council a day or two, and I can't recall a year when parking hasn't been discussed at some time or for some specific purpose. And the problem we face is our asset is the green stuff. And our problem is the grey stuff, because we haven't got enough green stuff, because we'd all like more places to play. We'd like more places to dig up and plant our veg and so on and so forth and play. But, and I'm sorry to disillusion people, but the concept of reducing the amount of traffic that is going to be coming into Sandhurst when there are some massive developments going on around us, and that road that goes past us currently has 17,000 movements a day, and it is not estimated that that will reduce. We are going to have to be cognizant of the fact that most people are going to want to come here in their car. And so at some point, we are going to have to examine whether more of the green stuff needs to be used for the convenience of our residents wanting to use it. I'm so pleased that we've now got this opportunity to look at this, or we're being presented with the opportunity to look at. If it's not appropriate at this time, I think we should be considering the fact that parking is going to be an issue of the future, because it has always been an issue of the future on the count. And if we have to consider putting on one side an amount from our budget each year, so that in 4, 5, 6, 10 years' time, there will be sufficient funds to provide for those things, then I think that needs to be considered as well.
Just- Okay.
Quick question. Do we have a lot of bike racks on the park? I'm not sure where they are.
Some out the front of the building, but that's the only ones.
I don't see very many, and we've got to try and persuade people to leave their cars behind and want to cycle down to the park. But if you do that with having some cycle racks that you can bolt your bike to, so it's not going to get stolen.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That would be worth thinking about, I would have thought.
That is an interesting point. Palm, you were, oh, I thought you were next.
Okay, I just want to say, first of all, am I allowed to speak? Do I have to declare an interest being a leaseholder?
To declare it and go ahead.
I declare an
Yeah,
interest.
we're not making a decision
Don't worry,
about
we-
anything
we-
that affects the cafe, so it's fine.
I do think that the idea around there is a good idea. And I know that John said that if we do use that space, we may not get essentially many parking spaces. But I think that whole area could be replanned and we'd possibly get a few more than imagined. And on another note, I think Nikki said that people do congregate there. They actually do congregate there, and it is a nice space, but having been there for more than 10 years now, it isn't used as much as you think that it's used. And often that space there is used for antisocial behaviour in the evenings. So if it was opened up, it could possibly deter some of that antisocial behaviour. The area around this skate ramp has historically been an area where teenagers, young adults just meet up in the evening anyway. But I think opening that space up from the road as well, and I know Dale mentioned a TPO, but I believe the main tree has already been cut down quite significantly. But again, just a few points.
Okay, no, that's interesting. And yeah, I've noticed a lot of the young people sort of hang out the other side of the skate ramp. Although didn't we think about putting some shelter in there or something?
They misused it.
They misused it, didn't they? We took it away.
Not on the agenda.
Sorry.
Forgive me. My reaction is that we're appealing to human nature for the easiest line of resistance. Whereas we've already got a big car park that is not being used. Why do we have to spend more money looking at something else that appeals to human nature because they can't be bothered?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, that's me as a resident.
Okay. Sorry, Philip, I missed you there. Sorry, bud.
As I understand it, it's the government directive that glass is going to be collected from the roadside.
Yeah.
And therefore, Forest Council, in conjunction with their partnership with Woking and somebody else, will have to make a decision what they do with the 3 bins there at the moment. And I suspect that they will go.
So my understanding was that you have to apply to get an extra bin.
No.
No, I'm talking about bins in the Sandhurst car park.
Yes, it will be mandatory for you to have a bin.
Yeah.
Oh, for goodness
Yes, you want to be in Germany and where they've got 6. No, so I think that's going to happen. That will create a little bit of space on that side. And subject to what happens with the tree, etc. It seems quite sensible to reorganise that bit of extra parking. There is a case for encouraging a bit more use down part you put in yellow by other users of the park. There are other clubs that like a little bit more parking space around. It's very congested. So maybe a small amount spent on improving the winter parking. That's something's come from the past. The word grasscrete comes to mind, without actually spending a vast amount on a brand new car park. So that's a sort of halfway house. But I think the major problem is the access to both of our all three of our car parks. And the one with the worst access is the one outside the cafe, because it's on a bend. And really, there should be a way of signposting people to use the other car parks. I mean, our main car park here, often I can't find a space in here. And I don't come very often, do I?
No, and
So
okay, guys.
getting people to park in Pie Acre seems to be our prime bit of research, and maybe we could have a look at an alternative access.
Okay, and
This is why I'm saying, you said it's an open discussion.
oh, totally, yeah.
It's the big hidden thing under the table. Some of the trouble is being caused by one club, which has overwhelmed a situation which was reasonably happy, presumably before I came to Sandhurst. But since I've been here, it's got noticeably talked about as a major issue, the access by the cafe. And maybe we should think about an alternative access the other side of the town council offices.
Okay, does anybody else have any
I'm
questions?
not saying who's going to pay for it, that's another matter.
So, okay, guys, sorry, I put this on the agenda because I do want us to have more open talks like this. I am particularly interested, I think, in the little one next to the skate park. So I would like, based on what we talked about, to propose that we look at the feasibility in terms of cost options, TPOs, number of spaces, things like that, opening up access, for that area. I would like to propose that. Will anyone second that? Thank you, Phil.
Could I suggest that area is called Area 1? The other area to the left is called Area 2, and the one at the bottom is called Area 3. So in future, any references to use or ideas, we know which areas people are talking about. And your proposal
is Area 1.
Could we add Area 4, the bit that belongs to the gardening club?
No.
Otherwise it will get lost in the one they're doing.
Yeah, but I would stress, when I put this together, I wasn't suggesting this. I was suggesting this as an open discussion.
Not negotiable.
I propose Area 1, which is what Area 2.
I'm going to just actually put on the proposal, rather than area 1, 2, 3, and 4, because residents are reading it, the area by the skate park, because then everybody knows what we're talking about.
Okay, but is okay, marvellous. So all those in favour
Of what?
of the feasibility, looking at the feasibility of that area in terms of cost, access,
Number of spaces.
spaces, and the like.
Time being allocated.
Yes. Okay.
Once you know how many spaces that it's, you can work. They don't know.
Whether it's viable.
So the discussion's ended and a vote has been asked for.
Yes.
So all those in
All those in
favour,
favour?
Graham has asked. Okay,
All those against? And abstaining? One. Must admit, I do like the idea of the Acre thing. But
Well,
how we do that, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, that's
for another day.
for another day. I think we should put that.
I've been looking, I'll put something forward.
Sounds very, and also like that, please always drop me an email, text, whatever, because these discussions, I think, are what we should be having as a council. So if you want to put one on this agenda, please let me know. Sorry, Ange, for rabbiting on so long. Right, moving on. Press and publication forward plan. To review and add leisure measurements to the press and publication forward plan as required and receive an update on recent press articles released by Sandhurst Town Council.
I've not had any requests for anything other than the social media pieces that we've been doing, and obviously the summer of fun I touched on earlier. Anything else?
Marvellous.
Oh, just ask, obviously we've got the Go Green event, is that,
That's not leisure.
that doesn't come under this?
No.
No.
Okay, fine.
So would this be with regards, because there were some people that had commented, but I know it's going to be different because we're now going through the Resident Association magazine. But the forward notice of dates, etc., because when the Sandhurst Pride got delivered, there was a lot of people commented that by the time it got delivered, there was a lot of those events that had passed. So thought to make sure that we have, you know, share them.
Well, yeah, I mean, the timings will be quite rigid with us, how we're now going to be operating with the SLA. So.
Marvellous. Councillor reports. Nick. Mike. Bill.
Apart from the Sandhurst Sports Club, and they've got Volunteers Day, just in case I wanted to do a bit more painting. I think that's on the 23rd, I believe.
I was literally just going to say exactly the same thing, that we went to the sports club and they're having a volunteer day to spruce it up. Excellent. We've got no other councillor reports. So is the sports club here?
They're not here. They've given apologies because they have just had, as you all know, a change of committee. But Liz has just sent me through a few notes that I'd like to read out on her behalf. So for those of you that don't know, Liz Penn has taken back up the helm of chair alongside Andy Beanie again with her vice chair. So it's sort of a bit of full circle back on there. And she's just sent me across some bullet points. So I'll just read what she's put. So following our AGM in June, the Sports Bar is pleased to welcome newly appointed committee. The first meeting has already taken place with Councillor Coppins and Councillor Birch in attendance. Regular meetings have been scheduled throughout the year to support planning and progress. We're organising 2 volunteer days, which you just touched on, to deep clean and decorate the main bar room and welcome anyone that would like to lend a hand. Your support is greatly appreciated as we refresh and improve the space for everyone to enjoy. This has also asked to bring up the subject of public toilets. It's in the summer months, the park is busy in the evenings, and when the bar is open, they're constantly having members of the public using facilities. She goes on to say that they try to be amenable and kind, but it does cost money. They don't have a paid cleaner. And could we consider closing the toilets a bit later in the summer months? And as always, their volunteers aim to provide a great community space for local residents and sports teams. So the toilet piece obviously will have to be an agenda item for another meeting. So I only got this today. But yeah, so that's just the report from the sports club.
Some charming person has actually blocked one of the toilets in there.
Yeah.
Quite nastily as well. Anyway.
Poor Brian.
Yeah.
He left the old babble.
They all fancy that. Marvellous. Item number 12, Sandhurst Residents Association.
Well, it's going to be the next issue, as you probably all know, is the collaboration, Our Magazine and Sandhurst Pride, which I feel is a win-win situation because the council will now have 4 editions of Sandhurst Pride going out, which means there's less likelihood of items, things that are happening have already happened when it goes out. I think the magazine is more likely to be kept longer because there's more in it. it's already making advertisers more interested because they can see now that the magazine's here to stay. It's being supported by the council and councillors, which is great because we will end up with more advertising revenue, which we still need. Plus, of course, the council price that the council are paying is slightly less than they were paying for Sandhurst Pride. So again, that's a bonus for it. So yeah, it's going to be a historical issue. I'm very happy with the situation. I hope everybody else is.
Hysterical or historic?
Both.
Both potentially.
We're going to have a big front cover of us all shaking hands. Sorry. Right, sporting clubs and society. Simon, you're first on mine.
Yeah. So we celebrated our 40th anniversary on Saturday just gone. Incredible afternoon and evening with music, and with what was nice is some of the players that played when the club first started through the kids that are just starting to play now. So really good vibe. We had a visit from Miss Peter Swallow MP, came down to see what the club's up to doing, which was good. Non-time pitches in, there were a few literal bumps in the road, but got it done. Got that resolved, and it's being used all the time. Girls were playing on it on Sunday morning in a festival. And the contractor's coming out to have a look at the grass pitches on Monday ahead of the renovation in September, which is good. That said, given the weather this summer, which has been incredibly dry, as you all know, until this weekend, the pitch has been playing really well. So I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. It was in the email to you, Andrew, wasn't it? About just the feedback sphere. It's playing really nicely because they're keeping it watered. Problem is a pitch that goes dry crumbles, and a crumbling pitch becomes dangerous, basically. So that is all good. We are enjoying mixed results in the Thames Valley League. First team are competing mid-table, second 11 are towards the bottom. We've got about close to 100 juniors with some all-stars and then our nines, boys and girls, 11s and 13s. The next big cab off the rank for us is going to be our scoreboard, but we're hoping that following the event last weekend and general positive revenues over the bar and barbecue during the season so far, that we're going to be just about ready to invest in that. If anyone follows us on social media, you'll have seen the Toyota Good for Cricket record that we've been pushing. So Toyota is the England sponsor at the moment, and they've basically put together a prize package of about £250,000, including 3 Toyotas, the top 3 prizes. Each club around the country can kind of get a sort of mini site off the edge of that to raise money through selling those raffle tickets. Every pound that gets pledged in those purchases of raffle tickets via our club link comes all back to us, which is amazing. And then people get a chance of winning a car. So I will keep pushing it on social media. So if you fancy if you know you need a new car, £5 goes to the club, good cause, you might win a car, who knows? So that's that. And last thing is the AGM. At the AGM, I'll be stepping down as chair. So there's some change in leadership at the club.
Something to take over.
Congratulations.
When is the AGM?
October.
Oh, so you're stuck till then. But we got a quick question. Is there any of that pub quiz night that you did was really good? Are you doing any events like that?
We did a quiz a bit earlier in the year. It's actually the next event's going to be, to be honest. I think we purchased a market, which was a big sort of discussion point around, do we want it, do we not? Because it takes quite a long time to put it up. So we're probably talking about considering an end of season do in a similar way, just because actually when you hold it at the club, you make a lot of profit. If you hold it at the golf club, the golf club makes a lot of profit. So that's something to be discussed, and once we know what's going on, we'll reach out. But yeah, so it's time for some fresh ideas and some new blood. And we have got some new members who are going to step up onto committee. the chair position is as yet.
To be fair.
There's somebody who will do it. Not sure somebody wants to do it.
That's not always the way.
We know that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Sorry, I've been trying also to try and pass over the chairmanship to someone else, but there's several people that could do it, but people willing to do it, that's another matter. The tennis club is going well. We've got lots of new members who have joined. And in fact, for our club sessions now, we are filling on 3 courts, as you know, out there. And if we're not careful, we'll have to wait too long before we get to play, which is a good situation, but perhaps not, can't carry on like that for too long. We are playing in the Berkshire League and we start some matches next month on that. So we're looking forward to that. We struggled last year because our standard wasn't quite high enough, but this year we've got some better players in and playing longer. We've improved the standard. So it's going well, and I'm hoping we'll win more matches this year than we did last year. I think the tennis club is more than just a tennis club. It's a social gathering for the people of Sandhurst. Most of the members live in Sandhurst and they're of the age in the 20s and 30s, and they're looking for a sort of social outlet as well. And we provide that in that we had a group that went to Eastbourne, the Eastbourne tennis tournament, and to Wimbledon as well. And last weekend, one of our members put up a television in his back garden so we could see the men's final, and everyone went down for a barbecue and we just had a great time. So it's providing that social outlet, which is as well for the residents of Sandhurst, which to me is as important as providing the tennis as well.
Agreed.
Gardening club? Yeah, I think we provide the social aspect as well, but I think doesn't all clubs do, don't they? I think to a degree that's the nature.
Did you do the Chelsea flower show with big screen in the back garden?
Yeah, we did go out. I've got round for that. No, just to let you know, just because I haven't mentioned it for a while, our membership sits at 252 at the moment. So we're staying big and healthy, especially compared to other local gardening clubs. So we're pleased with that. We had our summer show in June, which was, as always, a successful event. But what was particularly gratifying was the fact that we had an increased number of entrants and an increased number of entries compared to previous years. And when we look back over past years, it's taken us a long time to recover from COVID, which I know sounds a little bit bizarre, but obviously our numbers dropped right down in terms of the shows. I think there was an element almost got out of the habit of doing it. I don't know, but they're beginning to pick up. So we're pleased about that. Once again, the judges commented on the high standard of entries across the board. So for people who don't come and have a look around the show, you are more than welcome, clearly. Costs you £1 if you want to come and have a look. But it's not just about flowers and veg, it's far more than that. You do get floral arrangements and pot plants and all that sort of stuff. Huge amount of fruit and veg as well. But there's also cookery elements and handicraft elements, photography element. Photography is just growing and growing. There's a huge number of entries this year. And I can't remember other bits. My mind's gone completely blank, somewhat embarrassingly. Our next show is on Saturday, the 6th of September, the autumn show. So we're hoping that will be as big as the summer show was. And as I said, you're all welcome for the princely cost of £1. And finally, I just wanted to ask the council, because we don't ever get any feedback, to be honest. We maintain and we fund the bed out the front there. There was a lady working there yesterday.
Yes.
Yes. They do a super job. It looks great, but we don't ever get any feedback from you.
I didn't know that you did that, to be honest.
Well, I did wonder that. I mean, there is a sign on it that says, I think, maintained by Sandhurst Gardening Club, but I didn't know if you as councillors were aware that we paid for all that as well. I presume there's an element of no feedback is good feedback, as it were, because I think we'd hear pretty quickly if you weren't happy with it. But yeah, just letting you know, we do it and we pay for it, and I hope you like it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for telling, because I didn't know that. So.
You know, well, it did occur to us, we didn't know if you knew. Yeah. That's it, thank you.
Marvellous.
You've gone.
Is there?
I do have a couple of words from Chris Reid as well tonight on holiday. So he's just confirming that he's on holiday and he regrets that he couldn't be here because this would have been his final one as chairman of Sandhurst FC as well. So there must be something in the water. He has informed me that his successor is Steve Whittle, someone well known to the club and equally passionate about football and the wider Sandhurst community. And we will be arranging a meeting for him just to come in and meet myself and the team so that we continue the good relationship that we've got going with them. Chris did want to just say that one of the proudest moments of his time here was when the council invited him to go up to the Royal Garden Party, and he'd like to put his thanks forward once again for having that great opportunity. And then he goes on to say that the club news, they're currently one of the busiest times of the year, obviously registering players on new league systems, ordering the kits, etc. Looks like it's going to be a record-breaking year in terms of players' numbers and teams. Later on in the year, there will be a special celebration event to mark 45 years of providing football to the community.
Marvellous. Well, I think that's everything, isn't it? So
Brilliant. So can I just, am I allowed to ask something?
most definitely go for it.
Thank you. Can I just ask, just out of interest, why there's the different status of some clubs compared to others?
Different status.
Yeah, well, for example, the football club and the sports club next door seem to have a different status to the other clubs. And so the example I was going to give, we've just had a report read out from somebody who couldn't make it. That's great. But in the past, when I've not been able to make it and I've offered to send a report, I've been told I can't do that. And I just, it appears to be a different status. And it's, you look at the agenda and the sports clubs are often identified specifically. And I'm not saying that we should all be identified specifically. That's not practical. But there seems to be a difference in status between some clubs with the others. And I just wanted to understand why.
Okay, I'm not aware of any difference in status. Apologies.
So why haven't I been allowed? I was told, like previously, when I couldn't attend and I've sent my apologies and been told that, you know, we're not a certain status. There's no point in sending my apologies, and also that I can't have somebody else do my.
We don't record apologies for non-committee members. Because we only record apologies for council members.
I couldn't attend in the past. Why couldn't I submit a
Well, I can't answer for why that was potentially the chair's decision at the time. So we've had 3 different chairs in my time here. I don't know why or when the circumstance was, but obviously Graham has just said it's the same rule for everyone. We don't operate special treatment for some.
I'm not saying
others. So
no,
there are no different statuses. You're all invited as clubs on the park, and if you have a report,
I can't present. Somebody can say, okay.
Definitely, and that goes to all the clubs. Okay, if people can't make it in future, you know, more than happy for them to submit a report. It's better to have a report than not.
No, thank you for the clarification.
So, Pies Acre car park, you've replaced the top bars. What about the bottom bit?
yes, that's part of it. They haven't finished yet.
Okay.
Things.
Okay. So everyone, the next meeting is, I think, is it the 18th of September?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Good memory. Right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay.
I was going to say I'm off to the
We are live.
Fine.